Welcome to M&A Unpacked, the weekly show where we bring on experts in MSP M&A, case studies from those who have gone through or are going through the process, and top M&A and business minds to help you maximize the value of your MSP, whether you're buying, selling, or just trying to improve your business. And make sure to subscribe over on the Kaseya YouTube channel so that you know when new episodes drop, and you can even save the M&A Unpacked playlist for easy access. Today I have the first. This is a first on M&A Unpacked. We have two guests, not one but two, Darren Patoni and Matt Wood, both from Tech Inc. And you guys are coming to us today from Colorado. How's the weather out there?
Beautiful today.
Beautiful. Yeah. The reason I ask is because I'm familiar enough with Colorado to know that like almost every day is beautiful.
Ooh, you know the secret. Yes, you're
Like what
correct.
is
Lots of sunshine on the Front Range, of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely no snow because we're filming during summertime. I know that because it's about 85 degrees in my office today. So if I start sweating, you know what's going on. So
Yeah.
guys, I'd love for you to introduce yourselves to everybody. I'd love to do, like, I've known, Matt, we've known each other for a long time because you were an audit user, longtime audit user, and Darren, you guys have very unique stories. So I'd love for you to introduce things for me because you were separate entities. Darren, you're doing something completely different, and then you guys came together. So I'm going to let you guys set the table for us.
Who wants to start? Matt, you want to start or you want me?
I'm happy to start. Yeah, Matt Wood from Tech Inc. Give you a little bit of background. We've been in business about 20 years. Started as integrated business solutions, did the customary transition, rebranding, all of that stuff over the course of time. About 7 years ago, we became Tech Inc. We're a managed service provider primarily in the Denver, Colorado Front Range area, but we also have clients across the US. Darren, my partner, is located in Arizona, and we have plans to move forward in that geography as well. So it's kind of the 2-second overview.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I'm Darren Patoni. I started a company back in 1999 before there was even the word as managed service provider. We were information systems management and those kind of things back in the days when we had Novell, before Microsoft was even a real player in the server market. And I've watched things evolved over the years. Been in this industry 25 plus years now, have bought and sold a couple of companies. And actually the last company that I had sold, I just missed being an entrepreneur, right? Exited that organization. I've gone through mergers, acquisitions, and sold the company, but I really, really miss this industry and love being an entrepreneur because I think we had tremendous value to give to our clients, not just efficiency and productivity, but safety, care, delivering that customer service and that customer journey experience. We can actually make businesses profitable, and I love that. So I'd been working with Matt for a while. Matt and I have known each other, I think, since 2007, 2008 timeframe. We were involved in Technology Marketing Toolkit together, growing our businesses, and decided to come on board with him as an investor and as a partner to grow the organization. And I'm super excited to be here. So thanks so much for having us, Mike.
And what kind of MSPs would you like to have engage with you guys?
Well, geography is really important to us. Arizona and Colorado is two strategic areas where we're beginning to give a lot of focus right now. Size-wise, other than geography, we're looking for MSPs that are anywhere from $500,000 in total revenue to $2 million in revenue. So that's a real small subset segment of our entire population. And we believe we have a great systems and process to leverage. And the other things that's really a big deal. And I kind of want to pause for a minute and tell you a little story. After being in this industry for 25 plus years and working out a deal with my business partners to sell my shares in the organization, a lot of energy went to looking at the buyout, right? A ton of energy. And for most MSPs, all their energy goes into that, getting a good deal. I worked, in this for years and years and years. And what's my payout? What's the payout to the stakeholders? Rarely, if ever, does anybody think about the implications of after the sale. Now, what do I do? You're financially set, right? Your financial goals are in place, but I never considered the emotional impact, right? I thought for years and years and years, I was delivering value to clients and helping people. Slowly but surely changing the world, one computer, one customer at a time, helping protect people, right? And then all of that ended and I missed it, right? So if you're considering selling your business, your baby that you've spent significant time, energy, and money, you probably should spend a little time thinking about, what am I going to do? Are you going to spend the rest of your time golfing, serving others, whatever that mentality looks like? I'm not ready to retire. I have so much energy and lifeblood left into me that left a little bit of a hole. So I love this industry. I love the managed service provider industry and the good that we can do in the communities that we serve. And by making a healthy company, that also means you're profitable. You can serve other people in other ways as well because you're healthy financially. So that's a little story and a little tidbit. People rarely think about the emotional implications of selling your company, but it's a big deal, right? There's some statistics that show that over 75 people that, percentage of folks that sell their company afterwards have some profound effect that's negative, that, they're missing what they used to do. So you got to have something to do with your time and your energy. So something to think about. And one of the things that Matt and I offer somebody is that flexibility. If somebody wants to sell their company and to be acquired, there's all different ways of doing that. There's multiple types of deals and ideas that we have for structuring deals. Sometimes people want to stay along for the ride. We would love that. We'd welcome that as an opportunity. In other cases, people are, maybe they don't want to be an owner anymore. They're good at certain things and they want to continue on with the organizations. In other cases, people are, no, I'm done. I'm ready. Sometimes there's health concerns. Changes in health is a big life event, right? And now, how can I get paid back for all this years and blood, sweat, and tears that I put into my company? So we have some real freedom and flexibility with regards to how somebody wants to continue and support that need, not only the financial need, but maybe that emotional need to connect with other people and to continue delivering an excellent service experience. That was really long-winded answer, but I think a lot of folks who sell their company might have a similar experience. Not everyone's willing to talk about it, though.
No, that's it. That's very interesting. And I remember when we've had our first meeting, you talked about that, and I never thought of that. That is a big deal, right? Like this is your baby, and if it is something that can be sold, if let's face it, most buyers, and I'm sure you're the same way, you're not going to buy a MSP that's on fire. You're going to buy an MSP that's doing well and that has a future path. Right? That's the reason to do it. So that means that whoever's running it probably did a pretty good job at doing what they're doing. And you got to figure they put their blood, sweat, and tears into it.
Yeah, how not, right? And I think what Darren said also is maybe our target is a little bit different from the traditional because we're looking for smaller community-based organizations, not big national powerhouses. So we offer flexibility there, but it's the same type of requirements. Obviously, we want experienced leadership, community connections, strategic vision, some sort of growth over the years. But we also know with smaller organizations, it's kind of easier to chart a new course with them versus some of these larger places. So probably the same type of characteristics that the bigger companies are looking for. We're just willing to look at the companies that they're not willing to look at just because of revenue, smaller size, footprint, things like that.
All right. So I'd love to get you coming into this. You guys have been around for a long time, and now you're entering as a buyer into the marketplace, what's your, as you take a step back and look at the market now and into the future, what does the market look like to you guys? What's the future hold?
This industry is still untapped, right? There are so many MSPs who feel like our industry is consolidating. And to a degree, that's true, but technically, it's not true. And the reason it's not true is because there are more people entering the MSP market than ever before. And that's good news, right? This continues to grow. It's a real evolving field. We're early on in its infancy compared to, legal, construction, some of the other industries that have been around for millennia, right? In our industry, it's so new that, there's no regulatory agencies in place yet. I do think that's coming. I think we probably will be regulated at some point because of the damage that can be done by somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. Let's face it, there's some good news and some bad news entering this industry. It's relatively easy to enter. You don't have to have any kind of specialized certification, any kind of governmental, fingerprint on who you are or what you've done. You just need a credit card to enter the industry, to buy some tools to deliver value. That's good news for some, but it's also bad news for others because it means there's a lot of folks in the industry who are entering without experience, and you can do some harm that way if you don't know what you're doing, taking care of clients and protecting them properly and ensuring that they're not going to get infected with ransomware and that you're going to do no harm, like in medicine, right? We're going to make things better with our tool sets, not worse. We're going to enhance efficiency and productivity, not make it worse, right? So the industry is ripe for people entering it and growth like crazy. So it's one of the reasons why I love this. Where else can you get into this industry and see such profitability, right? And the ability to make a difference without necessarily having to invest tremendously. Although sometimes the cost of our labor is really, really high because it's a very specialized technical field, right? But the reality is we're not consolidating because there's more people entering this industry than are consolidating, merging, becoming acquired, or exiting. And that's healthy. That's really healthy for our industry. But it does seem like the talks around M&A are everywhere. And that could be because we have a aging group of folks who have done this for the last 20, 30 years, and maybe they're ready. Could be some health concerns for some, life change, or they've just been burning the wick at both ends. This is a very tough industry to run if you don't know what you're doing. And I will say that a lot of the MSPs and many of which that are in the category that we're looking to acquire, right, very rarely do they have a good grasp on, what it looks like to measure. I mean, real measurement of your clients. And you can't manage what you're not measuring. So if you don't know, the last 12 months of how much time you put in on this client, what they're paying you, what your gross margin is on this client every month, you're really not measuring. You don't know how good you're doing. You don't know if you're breaking even. If you're not at least 50% gross margin, you are losing money, right? So the targets continue to have to go up. A lot of MSPs invested heavily in new cybersecurity tools and just started delivering those to customers without charging appropriately. That just drives profits down immediately. And so our industry is changing fast. The needs are changing of the people that we serve to protect them and to serve them. And, it's a great time to be in this industry. So.
Yeah, I agree with Darren. One of the things that I'd say, just from our connections in the industry, that we've learned over the years is the deal isn't a deal unless it's a deal for the employees as well. So you have to structure this deal so employees feel the same thing that we feel. Opportunity is on the horizon. And I think sometimes that doesn't happen. We meet with companies and we hear, and there's churn and there's turmoil when companies merge without taking into consideration everybody's individual commitment. They have the blood, sweat, and tears as well. So I think the deal has to be more inclusive today in order to keep employees. So you're not doing this merger and then you've got churn and fallout craziness on the backside of things. Same thing with Darren mentioned, like consolidation. I definitely agree with that. You know, we're seeing consolidation in tool sets for sure, because everything just kind of it went off the rails. Everybody had the next best solution. And I think people are vetting solutions. They're more sensitive to cost, and they want a tool set that's integrated, does what they need to get done, and not an excessive management undertaking. So
You bring up a great point, Matt. I could go all over the place with this, but you know, one of the things you hit on here is the costs more to buy a company now, right? It's more costly for you guys to buy a company. Might mean that the company who's selling it is making a little bit less than they would have maybe a couple of years ago, maybe even last year, just because of the nature of the economy. What do you see there? And what's your thoughts and predictions on how this is all going to play out in the next few years of M&A?
yeah, and I'll just say quickly, I do think this consolidation of tool sets, it is taking into consideration all the things that you mentioned with cost. These are areas where we think we can make improvements. It's where we're focused. We think we can find efficiency, not just throughout our internal team, but also with customers. And so we're heavily focused there, you know, and it's part of our partnership and commitment to Kaseya and some of the other partners that we work with.
Yeah, I love that, Matt. That's a really important piece of this puzzle, right? A lot of data service providers today think their value is, you know, some multiple of X based upon what they put in because they heard something, but yet they're not profitable. Or, you know, they're taking everything out of the business because they want to lower their look for taxation, right? I don't want to give them government any money, so I'm going to take that out and use everything as expenditure, and I'm not going to pay taxes. The reality is, you know, that's not healthy. You're a healthy company when you are paying taxes, right? So it's good to make a profit. Then you can, you know, bless your employees and provide better benefits and things like that. So a lot of folks have this wrong, and it's a wake-up call when they start to realize what their value is. It's got to be on some multiple of EBITDA, but they also have to have, you know, customers who are under an agreement and customers who aren't going to leave. And there has to be a plan in place. How do we minimize churn? Now, we think we have great plans to avoid or to minimize churn by actually delivering a better customer service experience and upping that rather than minimizing it or you know, trying to do something different where we're all consolidating. Let's just face it, it takes time, and there's cultural shifts when two companies come together, and it's not easy, but it's doable, right? You can build in that other team, and you can build really, really great teams, and you can leverage the strengths of different organizations. It's a different way of doing things for sure. It also takes time to combine different tool sets, right? Everybody's idea is, hey, let's merge. You're on this platform, I'm on this platform. Now we'll only have one platform to deal with. And that's a great idea, right? The concept of that makes a lot of sense. Actually doing that in reality is very difficult. And you have to push and you have to manage it because the time frame is usually double what you think it's going to take, you know, to take all of these tools and come together and start limiting some of those expenditures so your company's actually profitable. We think we have a good method for doing that, and not just rip and replace, but we love the fact that we're able to leverage some of these new tools that Kaseya has put together, and the whole IT Complete and Kaseya 365. Very, very helpful for us, and I think for our industry.
Yeah, and it goes without saying that, you know, I mean, obviously I'm biased. I want everybody to come to the table with the same attitude you guys have, that they're going to use all the Kaseya products, but there is a huge value to that, right? You're paying less for your products, and quite frankly, if the company that you buy is doing this using the same exact tools, I mean, that just accelerates the time to integration.
Yeah, and probably also eliminates some pushback with the acquiring company as well. at the employee level. So
Darren and Matt, Darren, you talked on the M&A Minute, you talked about MSPs understanding their costs. And I'd like you to now unpack that, as we of course do in the M&A Minute, is a short kind of 1 to 3 minute tip. And you talked a bit about that. So I'd like you to really unpack that for us now.
Yeah, it's part of the MSP Minute, right? One of the most important things you can do as a managed service provider, as an owner, as a stakeholder, is to understand your costs, right? And to measure those. They change, right? Your labor cost is probably your greatest cost that you have in your industry. Your tool sets, standardizing on those tool sets, and are you efficient, right? That's a big, big deal. If you're not measuring whether you're efficient or not, you probably have some leaking buckets in your MSP. And those leaking buckets could look in the format of multiple different things, but you need to be determining how much time did we put in with this client this month, this year? What's our average time across the year? What did they pay us for that time? What's our gross margin, right? And gross margins need to be moving up because our costs are moving up. And the reality is, in order to deliver this experience to this customer, we have to deliver excellence and we have to give them the protection that they need, right? Otherwise, we're at risk as a managed service provider. And everybody has contracts, and we've all probably engaged appropriately with attorneys to, help us have the right protection in place. But all bets are off the table if somebody gets breached. And you better bet that somebody's probably going to come after you for legal compensation if they get breached and you didn't tell them. A part of that means not only measuring, right, and managing, right? You can't manage what you don't measure, but meeting. I'd say the 3 M's, right? Measure, manage, and meet with your customers. Meet with them regularly. I'm so surprised at the number of MSPs who don't have a regular cadence to meet with their existing client base, right? Not only could that be a leaking bucket as far as you telling them, oh, by the way, you're not paying us to do this, so we don't have advanced cybersecurity tools into this, you're not protected. Maybe you need to get them to sign a risk acceptance form because they don't want to pay you for that. And that raises the flag really quickly to what? We're taking more risk? I thought you're an MSP. You should be taking care of all of this. You got to be meeting with them regularly to tell them that, right? And if something happens and you didn't tell them, that's on you, right? That's going to come back to you. So you got to measure so that you can manage, and you got to meet with your clients. You have to set that expectation, and you got to do it regularly. What kind of value are we delivering? Can we be delivering more value? And here's the big one. If you're meeting with them regularly, they're going to buy more, so that you can cross-sell, right? Do you have them on 2FA? Like, everybody should be on that right now. There should be projects in place to get everybody on 2-factor authentication. Are you educating them yet? Are you doing cyber awareness training for people? That's absolutely key that you explain to them. If they're not prepared for it. And then probably, most importantly, have we cross-sold everything that we possibly could to this customer? Maybe there's a lot of MSPs who have, voice over IP offerings and other things, compliance offerings, right? Compliance is coming. And I think at some point as MSPs, we will have to become compliant to be able to serve, to have that designation. I think that's coming. I think the government is going to get involved in our industry and regulate us at some point. And I got to say it, but I'm not a huge fan of government intervention into the business world. I would much rather do that on my own, but there's a lot of businesses that are unprotected. There's a lot of businesses that are getting breached continually. What can we do to make sure that we're adhering to some type of standard minimally and delivering exceptional value? So there's a lot of reasons why it's challenging to enter this industry, and you have to know what you're doing. But the upside is tremendous. It really is. But you got to measure, and you got to manage. You got to go meet with your customers at regular interval.
Yeah, I love it.
I think that's good, Darren. And I echo all of that. And I will say the same thing about numbers. And we want clients that know their customers. And the customers are changing at the same pace as the MSP world right now. They're facing AI, they're facing innovation, they need strategy. And we know this, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know your customers. And so that's a definite focus for us.
Yeah, 100%. And Darren, you're out there every day doing this. What do you kind of recommend to people who don't do this or are pushing back? Um, and I'm gonna set this up because I've talked to a couple of contractors recently, and this is just something I've seen in my X amount of years of being in business. People like they guess or they project what they think their customer or their prospect is going to think. And they talk too much. They ask too many, they give too much information before finding out what is this customer actually want. And for example, I talked to a contractor who's coming over to look at something today, and he gave me all sorts of ways that I can go about doing what I wanted to do without spending the money I wanted to spend, doing things very inexpensively. Now, I'm prepared enough to know that I shouldn't be doing that, but he's trying to win the business before he knew what my objections were, what I was thinking. And I think that projection happens a lot.
Yeah, I'd say for most business owners, and it's not just our industry, right? Most business owners, the person in the way of this is themselves, right? And your thought process, it's your mindset. So I could never charge my customers those fees, right? I'm in a rural geographic area. I could never do that. That's mindset, right? Or my customers don't want that. My customers aren't going to pay for that. Are you kidding me? No way. They would not do that. That is garbage. That's garbage that's up here. And I can prove that because there's another MSP down the street, and it might be our MSP who's charging 3 times what you're charging with a happy customer, right? And they're deriving value. They're perceiving that value, and they're telling us about it, and they're expanding their contract, right? So don't get in your own way. Right? First of all, you have to figure out how to be healthy as a business and how to be healthy with healthy profits. And the only way you can do that is by measuring. What is this customer taking out in terms of time, labor, tools, materials, right? And how can we be healthy profitability wise? That determines what you're going to charge them on a monthly basis, right? So you need to be, I would be, proposing 65, 75% gross margin today. If you're not pitching that, you're probably not healthy. And if you're not pitching that, you have some mindset issues that you might want to work on. Join a peer group, start talking with others. And the last thing in the world you want to say is, what do you charge your customers? Well, we charge 300, per user. Well, we charge 150. We charge 50. It doesn't matter what you are charging them. You can't just take what I'm charging and do the same thing. What are your costs? You got to know your costs. What are you delivering? Can you be innovative? Can you deliver a superior experience with the same protection and not necessarily have to use all this garbage? Can you put it all together? Can you package it all together? And that's what Kaseya is attempting with their platform. And that's wonderful, right? That's a real benefit to us. But you got to know those numbers to be healthy. You got to be healthy as an organization. That's the only way you grow. If you're struggling in that area, maybe you want to read some books on it. Mike Michalowicz is really great at that. He's written a number of really, really good books. Profit First is one of my favorites. And the other is the Pumpkin Plan. Because if you measure based upon what your clients are doing, you're going to look and you're going to find out you got a couple in there who you're probably paying to be your client or close to it. You could be losing money. And then you meet with them and you have a discussion that you either right size and course correct, or maybe you need to pumpkin plan that customer, which means you're going to let them go, be successful somewhere else. Now, all of a sudden, you don't have to have that extra tech, right? Now, all of a sudden, you don't have to, have every technician, when they see that number call, and they're like, oh no, it's these guys. And then nobody wants to answer the phone because they're terrible. Well, get rid of them. They're not profitable. They're not healthy. They're bringing they're causing all kinds of problems. a lot of times people are paying, they're losing money and they're paying somebody else in order to serve them. It's crazy. So happens all the time.
100%. And Matt, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think, Darren, you guys are each bringing something different to the partnership here. And Matt, this was your company before Darren came into it. You were out there doing the QBRs, you're out there doing the selling. How do you as an owner of this business, because I think it's important for people to understand sometimes MSPs or any business owner, they're like, I don't know where to start. I'm too busy doing projects. I don't have time for QBRs. I don't have time for this. How do you manage things to make sure?
Probably similar to many that are attempting to do things best in class. We have a standard of care that we have defined. So right now we look at our stack. Our stack is Kaseya and a handful of other partners. We go in and measure against that. We're boiling things back down to the basics. So what we did over the past few years is we jumped in the craziness, right? With everybody else, trying to figure out security, trying to figure out what makes sense, next best things. We have learned from that experience. We have brought things back to where we think we have a standard of care that makes sense. It is actually better than the standard of care that we had before. So routine meetings, quarterly minimum, but we also want to set a cadence where we are understanding when change is happening at companies. So, we have account managers that meet with people, keep a pulse on things, make sure that when they're making changes in their business, we're not making assumptions in our business. And it is not easy to do because, a lot of things drift and you don't hear about things until it's almost too late sometimes, but really establishing those channels of communication. And we are customer centric, and not always perfect, but it is our focus.
And how can folks get in touch with you guys?
They can get a hold of us via email. They can call us. TechIncSolutions.com is our website. Feel free to visit it. Reach out to Matt and I directly. You can reach us via email. Our names are plastered all over the website, or you can Google Darren Patoni or Matt Wood, and you'll find us. And we'd love to talk to you, especially if you want to have a conversation about potential acquisitions. Obviously, these things are really sensitive and they're confidential in nature. Of course, we treat that as such, and there's nothing wrong with having a conversation to see if this might be a fit.
Yep. To summarize it all, I would just say if you're a company that values people, partners, process, call us, because that's the first step in alignment for us. And there's no harm in having a quick conversation.
Yeah. Right. Well, guys, I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day to share with the MSP community. And for everyone watching, we thank you, and tune in every Monday on the Kaseya YouTube channel for another episode of M&A Unpacked. And if you're not yet a member of the M&A Concierge platform for MSPs, make sure to apply today. Amazing platform and 100% free for both buyers and sellers. See you next time, everyone.